Hello, and welcome to Pharmacist Answers. I'm Cynthia, and I will be your host. You're listening to my Periscope broadcast turned podcast. Hope you enjoy. Last week, I did an overview of your liver, where your liver is located, which is on the right side of your body. Your liver's kind of shaped like a triangle, and it's on the right side of your body, runs down and then across under your diaphragm towards your stomach. I also mentioned that there's several functions that your liver is responsible for. There's 6 of them to be exact, so we're going to do one a day. So today is number 1. We're going to talk about digestion. A brief overview of your liver. Your liver cells are called hepatocytes. Hepato meaning liver, cytes meaning cell. So that's real cute and self-explanatory, hopefully. But I drew a little diagram. But your hepatocytes are arranged in lobules, which are shaped like a hexagon. And I'm sure you could find a prettier picture on Google Images or something, but I decided to draw one so I could hold it up for you because I'm not super great at this media to media thing and using multiple devices. Not that skilled. So here we go. This is a lobule. These are hepatocytes, and they kind of branch out from the main central vein, which, as a reminder, veins are the blood vessels that run towards your heart, taking the blood back towards your heart for it to get recycled and go back to your lungs for more oxygen. And then at each corner, there's 3 vessels: an artery that's coming from your heart, a vein going back towards your heart, and then a bile duct, which is a vessel that carries bile towards your gallbladder. So that's how your liver is arranged, and there's hundreds of thousands of these that make up your liver. So the hepatocytes, those liver cells, are responsible for making your bile, which is that green fluid. It's essentially green. It's colored green because it contains some of the waste products when your liver breaks down old red blood cells, and the way that your body's able to get rid of it, it dumps it into the bile dumps it into your intestines, and the intestines sends it towards the exit. So your liver cells make bile. Bile's consisted of water, salt, cholesterol, and then that red blood cell waste that's called bilirubin. And so the bile, they make the bile, they push it towards the bile duct flows it to the gallbladder, and the gallbladder holds it. Then when your intestines sense that you've eaten food that contains fat, then it triggers the gallbladder to squeeze some of that bile into the intestines, and the bile helps dissolve fats into smaller components so your body can then use it. Your body can use those fats in the energy making process and be absorbed. That's how your liver helps with your digestion process. So liver cells make bile, send bile down the chute to the gallbladder. Gallbladder holds it. When you eat fat, then the gallbladder sends the bile to your intestines, and then the bile helps digest and break up that fat into smaller pieces so your body can absorb it and use it. Not all of the fat's going to get absorbed. That's good news, I guess, based on how the American diet is today. So anything that doesn't get broken down or doesn't get absorbed because the body doesn't have a place to use it, obviously exits out the end. So the bilirubin parts that make your bile green, that's the same bilirubin that makes a baby's skin yellow when they have jaundice, because the liver still hasn't grown and matured enough to know what to do with the bilirubin. Because when mommy and baby are connected, baby's getting a lot of blood from mama, and now when baby's not connected to mama anymore, it usually has this extra load of red blood cells that were left over from mama, and red blood cells only live so long, so they die, and then the baby's body has to learn what to do with it. So as the liver is learning to do that, then the baby can become jaundiced because that bilirubin, if it's not taken care of and put in the bile like it should be, then it ends up getting deposited in other places in the body, and that's why the skin turns yellow. So bilirubin actually has that color. It makes the skin yellow in jaundice, makes your bile green, and it's what makes your poop brown. Doctors usually ask about baby poop, and I'm talking about baby poop because I have a baby and we actually had to deal with jaundice, but doctors will ask about the color of poop because if the bilirubin is not being deposited in the poop, then the poop will not be the right color, and that can be indicative of liver problems. That can also be indicative of liver problems for people who have hepatitis, which is a disease, the inflammation of the liver. One more thing about the liver and bile in general. If somebody is gallbladderless, like my husband is gallbladderless, then there's not a place for the body to store the bile. So it means that if you have a heavy fat meal, then the bile doesn't get stored anywhere. It just automatically gets dumped in the intestines. So it tends to speed up the motility, which is the movement of those fatty foods through the intestines, because it doesn't have either the bile, there's too much bile because it didn't get to be stored anywhere, or because the body doesn't have enough bile to digest it, so it just says, oop, can't do anything with this, and sends it out the end. So that sometimes can be a problem for digestion. You can live without your gallbladder, but sometimes there's things that have to be adjusted. So if you like food, thank your liver, because it does a lot of work to help digest those things. There's some other things, other processes that the liver does for you based on the foods that you eat, but we'll talk about those another day. Yes, newborn jaundice should always be checked out. I think my little girl had to get like 7 heel sticks when they were checking her bilirubin levels. It was like, I just felt awful, and I was tired of going to the lab to get her checked out. For them to check a bilirubin level, they need a lot of blood from like a little bitty baby. At least it feels that way. Bilirubin, that can really be a problem. Extended jaundice with high bilirubin levels in babies can actually lead to neurological problems because the bilirubin ends up in all of these places in the body that it's not supposed to be. So your liver, that's a very important job of the liver, to get that bilirubin out, and then getting it out of the body completely with the rest of the waste that your body gets rid of. So the good news is that a lot of infant jaundice does resolve on its own. The biggest thing they told me, they're like, just keep feeding her, because you got to keep that digestion, you got to keep that food moving through the intestines. So eventually, as that digestion process keeps going in high gear, then that bilirubin removal will eventually kick in, and then it's gone pretty quick. So because the only other thing that actually breaks down bilirubin and makes it safe for the body to dispose of is UV light. And so some babies have to do light therapy, and they get put under these blue lights. It's not very strong UV light. It's not anything that's gonna like cause sunburn, like if you just put the baby outside in the sun. But that light therapy, that light is able to go in the skin and break down the bilirubin, so the body can dispose of it another way if the liver's not old enough and mature enough to do its job yet. So that's the liver today. Bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes so you don't miss an episode. You can find the show notes at pharmacistanswershere.wordpress.com. If you want to join the conversation live, follow me on Periscope at Cyn Hendrix, CynHendrix. You can also share your questions and comments with me on Twitter at Cyn Hendrix, or email the podcast at pharmacistanswershere@gmail.com.